Good evening and welcome to Monday Night on Bad Dog Comedy TV, live on YouTube, and the season premiere of Ayaka's Kitchen. Now, please give it up for your warm-up act, a toast.
Hello! Hi! Hello, everybody! How are you doing? Okay. Season premiere of Ayaka's Kitchen. Of course, it starts with another joke that I came up with. Okay, are you ready? Okay. Knock, knock. Who's there? A room where only fungi hang out. A room where only fungi hang out. Who? Where? Mushroom. Mushroom? You get it? Fungi? Yeah, like fungi hang out in a place that's a mushroom, right? Right? It took me the whole weekend to come up with this joke, and but I think it's okay, right? I'm getting better. It's season 4, like I'm leveling up. I'm like a level 4. It's like a better each time, right? Better each season. Hi everybody. Hi. Yes, Toast is coming up with all those dumb jokes, and I don't take any responsibility for it. Hopefully it's getting better. Hi, I'm Ayaka. Hello, welcome back everybody. Season 4 of Bad Dog Comedy TV, right? Is that right, Sean? Season 4. I'm always confused.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Okay, good. I got it. Because it's season 4 of Bad Dog Comedy TV. But Ayaka's Kitchen started in 2020, so let's call that season 0. And then, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yay! It's a long running show. I'm excited to be back. So I'm excited to be back, and that only happens if we all support Bad Dog Comedy TV. So here's the donation link for Bad Dog Comedy TV. Bad Dog Comedy Theater is an amazing place. You know, like Coco's working so hard, Seann's working so hard, and it's an amazing community. So let's support Bad Dog Comedy TV. And here's the donation link. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. Subscribe. Great. Seann's got it. We didn't lose it in this hiatus, 3 weeks hiatus. It's great. And yeah, it keeps going. I have more amazing guests each week. And have you noticed? I've been to all over Asia, all over Europe, all over like Africa and North America and like South America, Caribbean, everywhere. And yeah, we are gonna have another cultural guest today. And well, this person's like so like well traveled. So I'm so looking forward to hearing all the stories. I'm so excited. Is that everything I'm supposed to say? Is that right, Seann? Yeah. Well, the donation link.
Yeah, you got
it. Got it. I got it. Okay, so let's have my friend Shuyi on stage. Hi, Shuyi.
Hi, Ayaka.
Yay.
Hi. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy. Yeah. So welcome to my kitchen on the other side of my kitchen, on the other side of the screen. And yeah, I already said it. You're so well traveled, so I'm so happy to hear all the stories. But before the traveling story, let's get to the beginning. So tell us, where did you grow up?
Sure. It's funny that you say so well traveled. I feel like that's just like everybody's Bumble profile, right on the bottom. Just like well traveled. I've been to a lot of countries. Anyway, we'll get to that later. I say that on my Bumble because I'm like, if you have to say it, then it's not. Then it's anyway. Because if you really traveled, you've got nothing to prove. Anyway, where I grew up is I grew up in China. I am Chinese Canadian. I grew up in China up until I was 12, and then the rest of my growing up was done in Vancouver, Canada. Y'all know where that is. We're all Canadian. And then I don't know. When do you stop growing up? That's the question. Like where? what age would you say you stopped growing up? Because then after that, I went to California and then, Boston, New York, and all that jazz. But I think my formative years were China and then Vancouver.
Yes, that's from the beginning. It's so deep. I am still growing up. I know I'm learning everything every day. I'm learning like all the new things every day. So yeah, I grew up partially in Toronto, I guess, for in my late years right now, I guess. Yeah, that's a really good point. And so growing up in China is so big. It's the third biggest country geographically, third, fourth.
Yeah, it's the third biggest. Yeah, it's the third biggest country, or maybe the fourth, depending on like what you count as China. That's a little political can of worms. Let's just not open. Let's just blow past that. It's big.
Okay.
So I grew up in like the Northeast territory. I watched Seann's video, and then we're actually from the same region. Yeah, and so if you look at the map of China, it looks like a rooster, right? And so I'm kind of at like imagine a rooster, and that's the map of China. I'm kind of like at the chin area of the rooster. So that's where
rooster facing east.
Either at the chin or the neck. I think I'm at the chin. Yes, the rooster is facing east, and I'm at the chin.
I never thought of that.
Which makes where I'm from like the northeast, because the head is the north. Yeah.
I never thought of that, and now it makes sense. Like now, I will only see the map of China as rooster. Like Italy is the boot, China is rooster. Mm-hmm. It's always gonna be that way from now on. So yeah,
that was pretty ingrained into us.
It's a common knowledge. So Northeast China is like, how would you describe that? Seann, another episode is Seann told us a little bit about it. How would you explain Northeast?
It is cold. We're big people. We eat a lot of food.
I like it. That's so true. Like I noticed in my ESL class that happened in BC, not Vancouver, but Vancouver Island. There are many Chinese friends, and the tall ones, like beautiful, like they're all like models, and they're all tall. They say like, "Oh, I'm from the north." Like they're so tall and like beautiful looking Asian man and woman, and in between like everyone. So yeah, that I remember that, like big tall people.
We're tall and we're big boned. I mean, I would consider to be chubby in Asia, but that's also because partially I grew up here and I found milk and cheese so much earlier than the other Chinese people who just stayed in China. But now with the globalization, China is actually becoming like one of the fattest countries in the world. I shouldn't say fat, the most obese. Another tangent. We're really tall. We're really tall people. Like I don't know. People always consider me as tall, which I don't think I am, like 5'6", right? Which is like okay, but people always like, she's so tall for an Asian girl. But I'm like, from where I'm from, I'm just like average. Like I think more people immigrated to, like more people from the South immigrated outside of Asia. I mean, outside of China earlier on. So in all the other countries, you see a lot of people from the South who are also beautiful, but just like miniature sizes. Because they're just like so efficiently put together, is what I like to say. But the people from the north are taller and like just bigger in size, in my opinion.
I can't believe that people consider you chubby, because you're not at all. Like you're, for me, to me, like you look like tall, like a model size. Like tall and then like slender.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. But I mean, you know this. Like you grew up in Japan. Like in Canada, I'm skinny, right? But then in Asia, I'm chubby. I was actually just talking to a friend about this last weekend. She's Japanese, and we were talking about how like we're not stereotypical Asian sized people, because both of us, when she goes back to Japan, when I go back to China, like. I say that people from Northeast are big, but I'm even bigger because I partially grew up here and like my diet has changed. And I think that has definitely changed my body size a little bit, because I came here also at 12. I've also noticed that throughout my life, like people come here and like their body sizes are kind of like in correlation of like when they came here, right? So if you see like, I mean, this is just completely my own like experience is not scientifically back at all, right? But if I see a person who's like super, super skinny, and they're, you know, Asian or Chinese, you know, I think they probably they probably like left Asia after puberty, right? And so they were, when their diets changed and things like that, it didn't really change their body structure. Whereas like me, or people who like maybe came here a little bit younger, were a little bit bigger. That's just my like assumption. It's a complete assumption. It's a complete opinion. It is not fact. Just want to put that out there. But that's what I've witnessed. But anyway, the whole point of what I'm trying to say is like I'm bigger back home as well. And like when me and my friend that we go shopping, there's like, you know, we have to go like extra large because it's just, that's what we're considered to be. And you know, the salespeople in Asia, they tell it to you straight. Make you look fat? And they're like, don't think it's a dress.
That in China? In Japan, they will be like, no, you look beautiful. This is perfect, even though it's not perfect. That's how they sell. Chinese people are more honest. That's great.
Really?
No, I'm not generalizing.
In Japan, like, they will still tell you.
I don't think like the salespeople, the shop clerk would ever say like, oh, maybe you should go smaller size. Like they'll be very they're really good at talking is one thing for sure. But they would never tell me I'm fat.
Nice. Well, maybe it's just that one experience that I had. Maybe it's just that one experience that I had where the person's like, sometimes not the dress. I was like, all right, I take it.
Wow, honest people. Wow,
honest. Yeah, and she's not trying to be mean, right? Like there's nothing malicious about it. It's just an observation. That's like another thing that's like when we talk about culture differences, right? It's like it's just an observation. It's just an honest, like, I'm not sure if y'all have this in Japanese culture, but in the Chinese culture, certainly, like when you meet somebody that you haven't seen, like especially family members that you haven't seen in a while, the first comment that they make is like, oh, you got skinnier or you got fatter. But it's just like an observation. Like that's it. There's no malicious intent behind any of it whatsoever. It's like our way of saying like, I care about you, therefore I've noticed how much you've changed, either one way or the other since I last saw you. Like, how are you? What, either way, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think we talked about it before, something like this before. And this, different country, different culture, different region, like it's all different. And in my family, especially, they are very, they don't talk like friends. Like I never talk to my mother like my friends. There's a wall between us. So she would never like comment on like, oh, you should lose weight or like stuff like that. But on the other hand, she's like, when is the baby? Like that kind of when do I see my grandson, grandchildren, that kind of stuff. So yeah, there are a few other things like she's so honest about her feeling, and a few other things like she would never say, such as like I love you. We talked about that before, like Asian people say something so honestly, and some other things they just don't say. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. And the I love you part of me, I tell my parents I love them all the time, but we do it in English. Like the whole conversation will be in Chinese, right? And towards the end, I'll be like, bye, love you, mom, love you, dad. And then my mom and dad will also switch to English and say, oh, love you too. And then we hang up, but we do not say that in Chinese. It's weird to say it in Chinese. Like it sounds weird.
Does it sound like saying that to lover instead of family? Is that why?
Yeah. It does. It does sound like you're saying it to a lover. Yeah.
Yeah. For us too, I feel like there is no like a direct translation for the I love you. Like the word I love you is the phrase is so versatile and you can use it for anything. And then, but when it comes to family love, we don't have the same phrase in Japanese. That's why we don't say it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the phrase in English, I love you, is thrown around so much, right? It's so like you say it to your friends, like, love you, like, oh my God, love you, bye. You know, but that's just not the way that we speak, in
No, no. Even in English, I'm hesitant to say I love you all the time to friends. I don't. I think I don't actually.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay.
When some friends are like, love you, I like you a lot.
See you next week. Yeah, like
Yeah, I love you.
Yeah.
I like you a decent
you.
amount.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
So
I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate. And I know what I love for sure is food. I love you, food. So let's talk about food. So tell us what you picked today. Ta-da!
Yes. Okay. So, that doesn't really look great. I mean, it looks authentic. Is what it looks like. It is shrimp and glass noodle. It's one of the staples of Northeast cuisine. Like this is actually, when you asked me what dish I should bring, I actually just thought about like, oh, what have I ordered recently? Where I was like, oh, I want home food. This is what I brought. Where I mentioned. So in Chinese, it's called 小鸡炖蘑菇, which is 小鸡 just means like chicken or a little chicken. 炖 is stewed, braised. Don't really know what the difference is. 蘑菇 is mushrooms, and then there's glass noodles in it. So it's like this like really rich flavor. It just goes so well with rice. My mom actually made it just a couple weeks ago. It is definitely one of the staple foods.
That's so nice. So yeah, I was wondering, and you explained it's glass noodles, glass
noodle. Yeah, so it's like transparent. Yeah, I'm not sure it's what it's made of, honestly. It's starchy, but the good things about like putting glass noodle in any sort of dish is that it soaks up all the flavor, right? Because the glass noodle itself, it doesn't have a lot of flavor, and it's like when you take it out, it's like usually dried, right? And you put it in any sort of brothy or any sort of like stir fry dish, and it just soaks up all the liquid. It just soaks up the flavor. It's amazing.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow, because they're really soft, aren't they? Really soft.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how long you boil it for, but usually I like it a little bit chewy.
Okay, so it depends. Like if you just cook it briefly, then it's chewy. And then they use it mushrooms, but it's not the regular mushrooms that we think. This is the mushroom. Is that?
No, it's like. Yeah, that's a mushroom. Yeah, so I don't actually know what it's called in English, but it's like a stringy mushroom that's not enoki mushroom, because enoki mushroom is white. This one is black.
Yeah.
I don't. I should researched that a little bit better before I came here. But it's a mushroom. No. And it's a long stringy mushroom that is also really delicious. Yeah, it's got a lot of flavor.
It's funny. Oh, yeah. I see more.
Because and the chicken has bone in.
Yes, it's all bones. I feel like they're like I have to cut them for sure. It's so interesting, like how it's cut. I'm not so used to seeing like how it's cut like this in North America. So I was freaking out. That must be hard. Like that must be organs. Like I was freaking out. It's just bones. Yeah. Okay.
Oh no, not at all. It's just like cut into little pieces, and like that's another thing with like Chinese cuisine is that like the parts of meat that we use, especially chicken, right? We always go for like the bone parts of it, which is like that because it's got more flavor, right? Like dark meat tastes better than like white meat, right? And it's really, I think, Western culture that does a lot of the chicken breasts and things like that, and you have to like really season it, right? Whereas like parts of meat with that has a bone in, it's already got so much of the flavor in it. Also, like when you fry it up and stuff like that, there's also the bone marrow, right? Like just waste no part of the chicken. Like the chicken has died, so then you can enjoy it as it can nourish you. There's no point like why should we throw any of that away? Because like honor the chicken. Eat all.
Yes, I like that attitude. Don't waste anything. So yeah, that's so true. Like closer to the bone, more tasty, and also I think there's more nutrition there. No. Collagen?
Maybe. I don't know. I think I know like bone marrow is a thing now.
Yeah.
Or something.
So that makes sense.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
wow. This is great. So in China, people eat this for dinner or lunch, or when do you eat this?
Yeah, dinner, lunch. Yeah, I guess it's just dinner or lunch because for breakfast we have very specific like things that we eat. Like it's usually like porridge, something light, that your stomach can
Porridge.
handle, to ease your
Is
stomach into
that
the day. Yeah, porridge. I love porridge.
rice porridge, right? How do you call that?
Yeah,
How do you call it?
congee,
Congee. Yes, I love
rice
congee.
porridge.
I love
Congee.
congee.
Yeah,
Yes, I recently found a
yeah,
great
me
congee
too.
place in Toronto. Like they specifically make congee, and I was
Really?
so happy. Yeah, we'll go there very soon. Okay.
Oh, you're gonna have to share that.
Yeah. So what do
Yeah,
you put in
because the
congee?
thing about the good congee place is like all the side dishes. For me, like the way that we eat it is just plain. Just like plain
Plain.
rice or maybe multiple grains.
Yeah.
There's a famous one that's called Bao, which means eight treasure congee or eight treasure porridge, which
Mm-hmm.
has got like all different sorts of like grains and things like that. But usually like growing up at home, they just eat like white rice and like maybe millets. And it's plain. There's no salt, no sugar, whatever whatsoever. It's just plain. And
Yeah.
what you bring to the table is like side dishes, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, maybe like pickled eggplant or like pickled
Nice.
yeah, or garlic or pickled radishes or uh uh yeah, or things like that. Wow, I can't think of that. Oh, or like a seaweed salad, like just
Salad.
a bazillion different things, yeah. Or sauteed peanuts
Yeah.
with you know,
So you make
salt,
your
I guess.
own. You make your own plate bowl at the table instead of like the chef brings you. Okay, this is the congee of the day. Like you put your own things.
Yeah. So like, I mean, in China, everything that we eat is family style, right? So you have your own bowl of congee or porridge, that's yours, right? And then there's just like so many different dishes, like side
Yeah.
dishes that we eat with it. It's like light, but it has like great flavor, and I usually eat that with a bun, that's just like a bao, it's like a just plain.
Oh yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, and so I
Nice.
think just because you're eating it, because especially with baos and stuff like that, that's another thing with North and East China. Northeast China is that like we're very of like noodle and dough people and
Mm-hmm.
not so much
Mm-hmm.
rice. And so like with the bao, it's also plain, right? It's not like a custardy or like a
Mm-hmm.
pork, whatever. It's sometimes in the morning, like we do have a bun that is also just plain. But it's like but just like that natural like dough flavor, it's amazing. It's kind of like how like Italians have their specific taste for pasta. We have our very
Mm-hmm.
specific taste for like buns and baos and things like that. Yeah.
Is that because it's colder? Like you need something heavier kind of thing?
I have no idea.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have no idea. I
Do you
know
get
that
meat
growing
there
up,
though?
I mean, yes, but I mean, growing up, I mean, China in the like, early days, I guess, like in the 80s, whatever, like we're not very, the country's not very rich, right? And so, especially for my parents' generation, right? Everybody was very poor, so then we didn't have a lot of meat. By the time I grew up,
Mm-hmm.
it was not a problem, right? But then when my parents were growing up, there was not a lot of meat. There was a lot of, it's really funny. I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day because at that time, like processed food in China was very expensive because I guess the infrastructure for processing food hasn't been established yet, right? So like white rice was more expensive than just like wild grain or whatever, right? Because it's easier to
Really?
sell it like unprocessed things like that. Yeah, and so to eat white rice is like, oh my god, a luxury, at least for my parents' generation, right? And everything that it ate, like when it comes to like tofu or like uh, uh, satan, I guess is what it's called now in English when people have bougied it up. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that like the food that my parents growing up that they have to eat because they were poor are now considered like like Whole 30, like bougie, like organic, whatever food that people are now trying to eat, because I guess the infrastructure for processed food is now set up in the way that processed food is now cheaper than unprocessed food. But it's just really interesting, like all these like fad diets and things like that about like paleo or like caveman diet, whatever. It's like, well, my parents ate growing up because they had to, because they were poor.
Yes, I was always wondering why organic food is more expensive, because that's supposed to be like everything should be organic, but now more processed food or like with more chemicals, that's cheaper. I was like, I don't get this logic. So at some point it switched all over the world, I guess.
Yeah, at some point it switched. And I also just want to say, like, the whole thing about like infrastructure being set up so that now it's like easier to process and stuff like that. Again, total assumption from my end. I just, that's assumption from my end that I've done no research in. I just assume that's what happened. I mean, I do have a degree in economics from like a decade ago. But, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, let's talk about you. So you said you have an economics degree. That's from UBC? Is that right, Vancouver?
Yeah, that's UBC. Yeah, I didn't go too far away from home. I only applied for schools that were close to home.
Yeah. And then you lived in this place and this place and this place. Tell us.
Okay, sure. But not on my Bumble profile because I've got nothing to prove. So I Vancouver, and then like I went and lived in Mexico for a year as an exchange student.
I did not know. What?
For a semester. You didn't know that?
Mexico for a year? I did not know.
Yeah, you didn't know that? I thought that's like one of the reasons why you wanted me to talk about like.
It's even better now.
Yeah, I lived in Mexico for a year. Supposed to go for a semester. I loved it so much. Came home for Christmas. Broke up with my boyfriend at the time. I went back for another semester. And then it just took me a long time to graduate. But I mean, that year in Mexico has just completely changed my view of life and like my whole trajectory. Because I was just like, I came back, I was like, because I partied so much in Mexico that like before going to Mexico, my whole plan, I was like, oh, I'm going to get a bachelor's in economics and I'm going to go to get a master's degree in economics. Maybe I'll go work for the government, And then when I came back from Mexico, I was like, oh, and also before I went to Mexico, I took the LSAT prep course. So I was like, maybe law school. Right. I know. And then after Mexico, I came back. I was like, life is so much more than just school. And so I just like scrambled my ass trying to like graduate as soon as I can. And then, and then just like what like I was wanting a master's degree, but I was like, I don't know, like why? Like I want to experience life. So yeah, that completely changed my trajectory. And then after that, I got a job in Silicon Valley. So then I moved to California, Northern California, close to San Francisco, in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, where all the Googles and the Facebooks is. And I worked there for about 6 and 7 years. Yeah. I feel like I should take a breath.
And then you're like, okay, I see this. My life is telling me I should do something else, and then went on studying acting.
Yes. Okay. So let's go there. So 6 and 7 years, climbed that corporate ladder, because you're just taught to work hard. And I did, and it was challenging. It was great, and I enjoyed it. But I got to a point where I climbed the corporate ladder where I didn't see myself climbing any higher, just because I didn't have any I just didn't want to, because I tried to climb a little bit higher, and then I realized it was just going to do the same thing over and over again, because I had built a process and built a team to manage like this side of the business that then we expanded globally. And so then I was like managing a global team, processing like whatever giant dollar amounts. And then it got to a point where I was like, okay. And then like another organization poached me to do the same thing. And I was like, okay, it's the same thing all over again. And I just always wanted to be an actor. And I just never had the guts and courage to leave. And so I felt like, my resume looked good. I had a car. I had a great boyfriend, like on the outside, my life looked great. My parents were so proud, but I was so miserable. I was so miserable because it wasn't what I wanted. And so I felt like I've trapped myself just from my life path in a prison of some sort, right? Because like all my life decision is like I'm grounded in this path. Like how the hell am I supposed to do acting, right? How the hell is that supposed to happen? I couldn't fathom it. And being in California is where Buddhism found me. Right? Like a friend of mine likes dancing, and I was like, you like dancing? I like acting, but I don't know how to get there. And she's like, yes, you can. And I was like, what? Like I get it. That Instagram meme. I don't think Instagram has been minted yet. I was like, I get that meme of like, yes, you can. Like practically, how does that apply to my life? Right? How do I can? Right? Like how can I? And she's like, well, look at your life, right? Like, where do you want to be 20 years from now? And I think we talked about this a little bit too, but I just want to share a little bit because I think it was like also another pivotal moment in my life where your life wants to be in 20, where you want your life to be in 20 years from now, right? Cut that in half. Okay, where do you need to be 10 years in order to project that into 20 years? Cut that in half, 5 years to 10, right? Cut it in half, 2.5. Okay, and then 1 year, right? Or 3/4, whatever. And then 6 months, 3 months, 2 weeks, 1 week, 1 day. What do you need to do in this moment to project that forward? Right? And she's like, oh, life is all about like, cause and effect. Every cause that you make, there's an embedded effect already in place. You just don't see it yet. Right? Like making a baby. She's like, at the time of conception, there's going to be a baby, but you don't see the baby until like 9 months later. Right? But at the time of conception, you're like, there's a potential for a baby. Like that's there. So what you got to do is just got to make causes for your life and then just let go of the effect, because the effect might not manifest right away, but it's embedded, and just make cause. And so like, what do you got to do this moment to project your life for in 20 years? And you have that decision, right? Like make that cause now, plant that seed now, right? So then I was like, oh my God, you're right. This is amazing. I can make a cause. And I remember I was like crying, and I was like, even though I'm a program manager, that doesn't define who I am. I'm really an artist, and I can be an artist. And there is a way. I was like, just ugly guy. Not like, but I was like, oh, like flood, ugly cry. And in that moment, like, I just, I didn't know, like, I've always believed that you can do anything that you like set your mind to, but I didn't know it was a thing. And I was like, what is this? And she taught me like a Buddhist mantra to chant. She's like, that's Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And by the way, like, we don't worship the Buddha because Buddha's a person, right? He always said, like, don't look at me, look at where I'm looking, right? Which is like full human potential. And this is like, and you can actually apply that to your life. Long story short, or long story even longer, I started like practicing Buddhism and like reading the philosophy, and then that's how I got accepted to acting school in Boston, and that's when I moved from California to Boston.
I don't know why you keep like trying to hide it. You got accepted into Harvard. That's like boom! It's like amazing. Buddhism helped you to go to Harvard. That's amazing.
It really did. You're right. I don't know why. Maybe that's like an imposter syndrome thing that I don't tell people that I went to Harvard. Like I'm just like, oh yeah, but like the certificates and the degrees are like, we have to choose. I don't know. But you're right. No, Buddhism did lead me to like completely change my life, and got accepted to Harvard, and they accept 18 people a year. And I didn't think I could make it. But I did. It was definitely through drawing, through like just reading Buddhist philosophy and then applying that into my life that was, that happened. No, you're right. I should be more proud. I went to Harvard. Oh, that felt weird screaming out. I hope nobody heard me. We'll just keep it.
Yeah. So through Harvard, you also lived in Russia. That's another one like surprises me and amazes me. Like doing acting and then moved to New York and then did stuff, and then now you're in Toronto. Like, you lived in so many places that I want to live. That's amazing. So
thank you. It's funny. I've never. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, throughout that journey, did you always have access to Chinese food, or do you cook Chinese food, or like? How is China having all those northeastern Chinese cuisine restaurants in those places you've been?
Yeah. So when I was at Harvard. There was like we were so busy. The grad school program, which is amazing. Shout out to American Repertory Theater, which does not exist anymore. The theater itself exists, but the program doesn't because of this whole student loan thing. But anyway, it was an amazing program. And we were so busy that we were scheduled, especially second year, because the 2.5-year program, second year, we're scheduled like 11-hour days, right? 6 days a week, right? And on the 7th day we had free, we decided to put up our own Shakespeare show. So there was like no time to cook. But luckily, at Gutman, shout out to Gutman, which is the education center right next to American Repertory Theater. Like I just ate at the cafeteria at Harvard because I had no time to cook. But when I did cook, it was purely to procrastinate on something. I think I talked about a little bit of this too. Like when I'm anxious, or like when I procrastinate, like I make food. I remember there was one time, I mean, this is not Northeastern Chinese food, but like one time my roommate is like, oh, have you prepared monologue yet? You know, that we need to present tomorrow. I'm like, no, but I made honey glazed salmon. Would you like some? Right? Or like, I'll just do these elaborate things just to like procrastinate. But we didn't cook a lot. But one thing about like Northeastern food that was always in my life was like when we went to Russia, a lot of people were not used to the cuisine there, right? So they couldn't really handle it. And it was kind of traumatic for some people because you're in a different country, you know, you don't speak the language. Pretty racist there. And by the way, this was before 2016. So it was okay to be in Russia at that point. We were excited, and then that excitement was okay. But the food was like so close to what I grew up eating. Like Russian food was so like similar to the food that I grew up eating. It was, I just felt like it was basically Chinese food with mayo and cheese. And it's not love. Like I scoured everything. They have this dish, I don't know what it's called in Russian, but they have this dish which is kind of basically like meat gelatin sort of consistency, right? So, you know, people who only grew up in the West might think that's weird because like the only translation you have is like meat jello. Which sounds really weird because Jello only refers to sweets, right? But like gelatin itself, it can be sweet or savory, right? That's not, you know, it's the way that you expect Jello to be is completely defined by the language you speak, right? So they had that in Russia, and then I remember a classmate, she's from Belarus. She was trying to explain. She's like, "Oh, Shuyi, this is weird, but this is the thing that we eat." It's kind of like a meat jello. It's savory. And I was like, oh, no worries. We got it. Like, we have the same dish. Like, don't even worry about it. Yeah, it was, I guess that was also like, that's how I kept more a part of that in my life was like, even eating Russian food. I was like, oh my God, this is like so good and so close to home in a really odd way.
That's so funny that like, yeah, the ingredients are same in so many different cultures, but how we cook it is different. So you really experience that in Russia.
Yeah, and it's like, it was just amazing. Also, they have porridge too, right? Like rice porridge. I was asked, like, you know, like, oh shoot, how do you say kasha riskaya, which is Russian for rice porridge. Right? But the way that they make it, you know, it's like with a little bit of butter and like a little bit sweeter. But sometimes in the morning when I like crave the porridge from China, I would just ask like, you know, like, do you have kasha riskaya? And then they'll be like, and then I would have kasha. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. As long as I have soy sauce, I can go. Yeah. Okay. So as we are talking, I made this sushi. So let's take a look. Yeah. Ta-da.
Oh my God, that looks so good. Ayaka, that's amazing. Wow. That looks so good.
How would you name it? What's the name of this roll? What's the name of this roll?
Dongbei sushi.
Dongbei sushi. Dongbei, like a north,
sushi, yeah.
east. Dongbei sushi. Dongbei sushi. Dongbei roll.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny. So it will be DONG. Yeah. But Dongbei sushi. Yeah. Why not? Let's do it.
Yeah. Yay! I put everything.
So good, Ayaka. That looks so good.
I put chicken in there. I put the noodles. I put the mushroom. Every piece has everything. So yeah, hopefully it's good. We'll see. I'm sure the noodle itself is good. Sushi is good. Good and good together. It's double good, I hope. But I'll try it.
Yeah. And we normally eat it with rice anyway, so it's like it's perfect.
It's perfect. Sushi rice has some vinegar, sugar, and salt. So that might change the game. But I will try it and see if it's good or very good.
See.
Yeah. I don't want the audience. I don't want the audience to hear me chew. So I often ask Sean to put the drum roll. But instead, would you like to sing us a Chinese song?
What? I don't sing. Oh my god, this is bad. This is gonna sound so bad, but all the Chinese songs that just immediately pop into my head are all like communist propaganda. Just for the record, just for the record, we're not. Yeah, just for the record, we're not communists, or at least only half of us are. Oh my god, Chinese song. What would be? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat.
Yeah.
So, itadakimasu.
I'll just give you a drum roll. No official sound. Careful with the bones. Oh, careful with the bones. Yeah. Yay! Also, I love that Sean put that dog has no official set on communism. Oh.
Very good. I really want to try by itself. So good. What's in a broth?
Yeah, it's a good one. That's a good question.
It's so brown.
I've never attempted to make it myself, but it's like you said, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's soy sauce in there. I don't know. But like you said, with just something it's good. I usually, that's when I cook. It's just these are different, right? And soy sauce actually brings out the different flavors of it. I'm sure there's other stuff in there. I just don't know how to make that myself.
I see ginger, lots of ginger. And I think the mushroom makes
so
broth.
ginger, garlic, and scallion.
Scallion. You use scallion often, right?
Yeah, so ginger, garlic, and scallion are the three base staples. So you can either put all three, or just the two, or just one of them. But that's the base for the fragrance and the flavor for a lot of the Chinese cuisine.
Yeah, and the mushroom. I still don't know what kind of mushroom it is, but I was thinking mushroom is also so cultural. When I say mushroom, the translation is kinoko. When I say kinoko, in Japan, it's totally different looking kinokos we have than here. And I'm sure that applies to different culture. So I don't recognize it, but it looks mushroom to me. It tastes mushroomy, but it's so interesting. Mushrooms are everywhere in so many different forms. Good.
Yeah,
oh,
I think
so
in Chinese it's called zhengu. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yay!
I'm so glad.
Very
it's a
good.
good dish. It's a solid.
It's
a
and
solid one,
the restaurant is Liu, Liu, Liu's northeastern cuisine. Liu's northeastern cuisine is the restaurant that we found in Toronto. It's so good. They were having a 2-for-1 beans dish. So I had to order so many beans. I'm gonna eat so many beans. This is heavy. It's such a good portion. It's so heavy. So much
and it's
in here.
hot. It comes so hot.
I couldn't even touch it when it got delivered. It was so hot. So good. Okay, I'm gonna just go eat this whole bowl of this and so many beans waiting for me. I'm gonna eat a lot. And Shuyi, thank you so much for sharing your stories. It's so interesting. Like this, like you are one of those people like I meet, and then like when I talk more and more, you have more and more stories, and every time I'm like, what, you did this, what, you did that, what, you also live there, like so many things all the time. And I love that about people, have so many fun stories, and I'm so happy you came here and shared some stories with us today. But I'm sure you have a lot more to tell, so let's hang out soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ayaka, for inviting me. This has been so fun. Like, the time just flew by. Yeah, and I talked a lot. It was just kind of odd for me, but I guess
we want more. We want more. Yeah.
Yeah.
We want more. Right. Yeah. Thank you. So this has been Ayaka's Kitchen, the season 4 premiere, and we'll be back with more episodes. So here's the donation link for Bad Dog. Again, Bad Dog is an amazing place, so let's support Bad Dog. And thank you, Seann. Seann, you got to speak a few times today. How are you doing, Seann?
Oh, doing great.
And after this, what's Seann's show? Seann, do you want to plug?
Oh, yeah, sure. You want to watch D&D live and see that mushroom joke repeated from the start of the show again, then check that out at 9 p.m. Eastern here on this channel.
Yeah, D&D Live is such a popular show. Everyone should watch it. Even if you don't know D&D, like I don't know much about D&D, but like it's such a cool, fun show, so everyone should watch it. And yeah, Shuyi, that was fun. Thank you so much. And let's say, well, I guess we don't say I love you to each other in our own language, so I'm gonna just say I love you in English, and then that's a bye-bye. I love you.
I love you too. I love how you said it.
You said it.
Bye.
You said it. You said it. You said it. I said it. You said it. Okay, cool. Okay.
You said so. You're like, I'm gonna guess. I will say, I love you.
Okay, peace out.
Okay. Lock in.